Your background is neither.
Yeah, my background was basically English.
Right.
Because my mum was brought up English. Obviously, my granddad must have cooked the odd meal or something. I think my granddad was more of a man's man. I think he was for the pub.
Right.
You know, like, and so was my dad. He used to go to the Denmark, get pissed with the Irish.
Yeah,
Come out, have a fight and go back in. That's why I say my son's just like him, because he works with the Irish. He virtually lives with the Irish. But I'd say late 50s, early 60s, not even early 60s, in the 60s, it was hard for you to even define yourself, because you weren't allowed to be who you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because of the racism, because of, if you did be who you wanted to be, how can I put it? You were being a nigger.
Well said.
And nobody back then wanted to be a nigger.
Well said.
Like, you don't mind being a nigger these days, because you can stand up for yourself, you can speak.
And it's kind of pretty cool.
Yeah. But back then, no. So I think the first time I ventured out anywhere was when I went to Style.
We both, our lives crossed quite a lot, because I was in Style as well. And Conway and all that lot.
Oh, is it a convalescence place?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was right next door to, it's part of Style Prison now, but it was a school on its own. And the only other black kid I met there was this little asthmatic called Norman.
Norman the asthmatic.
Oh, and he was tiny. He was even smaller than my son.
Are you two going to be okay now then?
Yeah.
When you can close the window, turn the light off, and pull the door to behind you.
Yeah, I will.
And then
promise.
It's not fair to dismantle you just because I'm going. Yeah, give us a ring.
I will do.
You've got my numbers now.
I will.
Pop and give us a ring if you want me to do any more.
I will do.
All right, enjoy. Help yourself to tea and coffee.
Thank you, Helen.
I know. Been awfully nice now, haven't I? Help yourself to tea and coffee. Have any biscuits. All right, see you guys later.
Have a good day.
I will do. Bye.
And then because when I went to Style, I did my ballet classes. I was going to be, but there was not a lot of work, because you went for auditions and they'd tell you, but you're going to be a bit of a contrast, you know, because I was never good enough for lead, so I was always in, and that wasn't a racism thing. I wasn't an exceptional dancer that could get the lead parts, and you'd be in like the chorus line, and there was always an excuse about you're not going to look right, or you know, a white piece of paper with a big black dot on it, kind of thing.
For laughing.
No, it's true.
I'm sorry for that. But
it was my Auntie Kathleen that made me go for that. She used to say, if you don't do it, people aren't going to allow you. If you don't go, people aren't going to allow you to do it. You have to force yourself. And I suppose it's like that in any profession, whichever race. But back then, it was prominent, and it was hard. And then I did a little bit of travelling, because then I wanted to do burlesque.
Right.
But then I was never shapely enough. Because, you know, they like those hourglass shapes.
Yeah.
So I was never shapely enough. I never quite fitted quite anywhere, really, because it was one of them. I wanted to be a cool black person, but because I was so English, I was never a really cool black person.
Yeah.
Because when you brought up English, you are brought up English. Because my mother wouldn't even let you drop your H's.
Would you not?
No, and stand up straight and shoulders back and chin up and,
Does that come from her grandma?
I think it comes from both of them.
Right.
Because I think my granddad was a very proud man.
Yeah.
From what I can gather, he was a very proud man. And I think my mum got it more off him. Because my nana always seemed quiet.
Okay.
She was small and God, I've got a photograph of her when she was around about my age, and she looks like a little old lady.
Yeah.
Whereas I know to young people I look like a little old lady, but to my age group I look pretty good.
Yeah.
So no, she was quite quiet. I think it came from her granddad.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think... Oh, this sounds mental. Do you think your granddad was racist? Do you know what I'm trying to ask you?
No, I think my granddad was... he wasn't racist. He was proud. And he wasn't going to let the white man take that pride away from him.
I sometimes suspected that my dad didn't like being black. That's stupid. I don't kind of quite mean that. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think it's what we used to feel. It's not that you don't like being black.
Yeah.
It's that society tells you it's wrong to be black.
Yeah.
It's not you don't like to be black. It's society. And black is beneath everything.
Yeah. And therefore, because my dad was a bit uppity. Do you know, like you're saying, proud.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to do really well at school, and our clothes was always good.
Yes.
Our ankle socks was white.
Yes, white.
Yeah, the house was really clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed like a front.
And it kind of was a front, because it was to prove to the white man,
yeah,
you could behave like them. You could, none of this monkey business.
Yeah.
Because back then, the white man did think you were just one step up from monkey, didn't they?
And my mum used to say, you have to try harder. My mum was Irish. You have to try harder.
Because the Irish suffered the same thing as the blacks did. Because I remember on quite a lot of the houses on Monson Street, no blacks, no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. For renting out.
Yeah.
And you see that quite often, no matter where you went.
Yeah.
And there was an old Jewish family over the road. And I wouldn't actually say they were racist, but they never wanted to mix with, because there was an Indian family, not Pakistani, Indian family, lived across the road, and he had a shop next door to us, the Singhs, and the rest of the street was black or Irish. And they always had the nicest house, the cleanest, well painted, and there's always flowers in the garden and things like that.
And they never spoke. But you can't, but they're immigrants in their own, they've
Yeah.
got their own fears and their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like I sat down one time when we were younger and we were talking in the living room. It was when it was all about blacks and we're going to do it kind of thing. And I can remember thinking, they've gone through what we're going through, so they want to stay up above us, to the white man.
Yeah. It could be any reason. They could just want to keep their heads down,
Yeah, they might have just been a quiet couple.
Yeah, there's that as well.
Yeah. But when you're young, you're trying to read into everything. You're trying to get explanations.
No, you're right. I
About
remember
everything.
that. And parents discuss other people on the street, don't they?
Because I can remember being in my late teens and starting to dislike white folk because of what had been opened up to us. Because we never knew about slavery. You'd heard about it, and they never told you about slavery in history at school. It was all about, how great Britain was, and what Britain did for the world and how Britain's one of the richest countries in the world and Britain's this. And
True,
you used to get used to that.
There was a bit of a side note about a famous abolitionist who was English.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember in the history lessons? Can't remember. Is it John Brown?
I can't remember something.
Do you remember watching Roots?
Yeah.
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 Do you remember how you felt the next day after watching Roots?
Well, before I had that feeling before watching Roots, though, because after watching Roots, it was kind of, yeah, and that's why they're never going to let us be, because we allowed them to take us. Because remember, they came over with Christianity, sent nuns over to tame us. And get us off our own gods, to their God, and then that's when once they got us believing that, they could take us, because they had us believing when they took us, we were coming to a better life.
I've never heard this angle. I just thought they were hunted down. I've never heard it to be anything.
No, because they came on. No, they came over.
Where are you talking? Came over to where? Africa.
They came over with Christianity first to show us that, that they were good people.
I've never heard this before, Lanka. No, I've always pictured it that they just chased you through the forest and captured you.
No, they came to the villages and the small towns. They came over with Christianity and tamed us with Christianity, got us believing in their God, and then once they got us believing in their God, that's when they could fill their ships.
No, that don't work out in my mind. How can you go to a country, tell them there's a God, right? Mm-hmm. So if they're telling them there's a God, are they telling them that they're human beings as well, in God's eyes, the Christians?
What do you mean? Who's human being?
Are the white people, they've gone over with God, right? Mm-hmm. So if they want to sell God to you, they've got to allow you to be a human being, haven't they? To accept God into your heart. So how are they then going to persuade you?
No, it's just like when you get a dog to trust you, what do?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You tame it first, don't you? And that was the way of taming it. That was the way of, they thought, taming black folk, when black folk were just living their own lives.
Yeah, but then how would that go from, you can take these people and take them on a boat?
Because what they did then, after they tamed us with Christianity, then they told us the Christians can give them a better life on a different land.
I've never heard this before, Lanka. I've always just seen it like Roots, that they chased you through the forest to capture slaves. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
No.
I've never.
They probably did chase some through the forest. The ones that didn't want to go.
They probably did a bit of both, you mean?
Yeah. So, because I don't think they came over and chased you through the forest like they did with the lions and the tigers and the monkeys and the apes.
Right.
They had to know why would they be chasing. Because some of the black folk ran away. They didn't want to leave their own land. But quite a lot of them listened to them with the religion. Because when you think about what you were told about the Bible when you were growing up, you believed it, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We used to run to the CCC tent when we was kids.
And then that's how they got the black man to trust them, got them on the ships, took them to a better land, which was supposedly, and then that's when they made you work like a dog. So
that's a new concept to me. I've never heard that before.
No, that's from what I can gather from history, the ones that were chased through the forest are the ones that didn't want to go.
Yeah, you'd have to know
because to fill the ships with hunted down people, how long would you have to hunt down for when you're hunting down a few people at a time? You get them to trust you and they follow you into the ships. Because you're going for a
Yeah,
better
but they were
life.
shackled in the bottom of the
Yes,
ship.
of course they were shackled.
So what are you saying that happened? That they walked on and then they just overpowered them and shackled them?
No, they walked on, and obviously to keep them in place, and they thought to keep them safe or whatever, shackled them. And they not only shackled them, they used to plug up things so they couldn't mess up the ships too tough. Because obviously once you're in shackles, you can't go your toilet anywhere, can you? Except where you are.
Yeah, but you can't. No, that's not holding water. The story's not holding water because you just couldn't. You couldn't because there's like hundreds of them on the ship.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. You think now them people have got to hunt down hundreds of people from the forests, going through the jungles or whatever. How are you going to fill a ship with hunted down people? You're going to have to get people to trust you to fill the ship.
Well, here we go on to a dicey subject, because then I thought the other side of that is that Africans themselves were selling their own.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did, because they're the ones that really trusted the white folk and really believed in what the white folk were saying and thought, yeah, we can make a bit of money out of this. So,
wow.
Because there's no way they could fill a ship full of hundreds of people hunting them down. They had to get them to trust them to get them onto the ships.
I've never thought of that moment.
And then shackle them.
Yeah.
And then once you've got them shackled, then they are an animal, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Take them off the ships. Once they got them to wherever they were going and take them off the ships, that's when, obviously, again, they're going to abuse them, they're going to use them. Because there's no way.
Have you seen James Island? I think it's called James Island off the coast of Gambia. And that's where they used to keep them before they'd ship them across the Atlantic. You know, in a room about as big as this, they'd have like 60 or 70 of them, you know, just all squeezed in. That's the first time really slavery proper hit me, was when I seen that. Even though I'd seen Roots, I'd read books, you know, when you feel something in a different way.
I think before Roots, because my family were so militant, I think that's when I learned about slavery. And that's what put me off the Bible, because the Bible was written by man. It wasn't written by God himself.
Yeah.
I believe in God, but I don't believe in the Bible, because that's just a set of 10 rules, and it's all emphasized to frighten people into believing in what the top people want you to believe in back then.
Did you talk like this in the Reno, Lanka? Because your family was militant then, weren't you?
Yeah, no, because the Reno for me was my playground.
Okay.
And I wasn't really one that talked that much in the Reno. I really went down the Reno for the music, because I could go down there after I'd been to a dance and I was all dressed up, or I could go down there in a tracksuit and pumps. That was a place I went to listen to music, because then I could listen to all the old jazz music, all the old, like the jazz funk, you know, proper black, what I used to call proper black music, not just this yeah, da, da, and all that business. I suppose I was a bit of a racist back then, because I always took the white girls. It's like even now me and Helen will sit here and we'll talk, and I'll explain to her how I did see white folk back then and how I see white folk now. I don't really see black or white folk now. Well, you do. You will always see that, but you tend to be more comfortable whichever company you're in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose I was a bit of a racist, because I used to take the piss out of the white girls. They used to come down there and they couldn't dance, and they try and bob, because the first time I met Helen, and she'd say, "Oh yeah, I remember the Temptations." And I was like, "You know, please behave yourself." And plus, the white kids have got more rhythm than they did back then.
Yeah.
White girls, because you didn't see many white lads down there. Even our reggae, he didn't have any rhythm. He liked reggae music, but he didn't have any rhythm. But no, because they could never dance. They did one movement.
It must be deeper than dancing, though. Tell me what you mean about you felt racist, then.
I felt it because when I was little,
yeah,
you know, because of this white thing, if you weren't white, blonde-haired and blue-eyed, you were never, ever going to amount to anything, no matter what. Even when teachers used to speak to you, they'd have this kind of tone as though to say, well, you're never going to do it, so it's not really worth me talking to you.
Wow.
But because it's my job, I am talking to you, that kind of thing. And I used to walk round. I used to put a yellow cardigan on my head to make like I've got blonde hair.
Yeah.
And I think it was resentment of them days.
Okay.
Because I'd look back and I think, that's wrong. A child in her own mind not wanting to be herself. That is wrong. And that's the way the white man brought you up to be. I don't know how it was for mixed race. Because the mixed race had this thing, they were better than us because they were lighter skinned and the features weren't as prominent, kind of thing.
I definitely felt, when I was a teenager, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't feel that. And it's in history as well.
Yeah.
Things like Haiti, you know, like that it's white, it's mixed race people who were in charge of Haiti, and immediately after the Haitian Revolution, and they were snide about it, you know, like to get the power. And I suppose that's from slavery, from the whole house nigger thing.
And plus, when I was growing up, everybody was saying, feel sorry for the Jews, because of what Hitler did. And I even used to think to myself, well, look what you lot have done to us.
Yeah. Did you really?
Yes, seriously. Because it was the family. It was the family I was brought up in.
Yeah.
Because I can remember something being on the TV, and my mum would say said something like, "They're bleeding. Feel sorry for the Jews. There were 6 million of them killed. Look how many million of the niggers were killed.
Yeah.
You know, throughout the years.
Yeah.
And the way we were treated."
But you know what that makes me think, Lanka? Sorry for jumping in. This is that we don't, as a whole entire globe, right, including myself up until this moment that I say it now, that we don't think the black man deserves any sympathy. We don't think he's worth it. Does that make sense?
Why is he not worth it?
I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying historically that's how we think, because Jews have got pale skin, and it is terrible what happened to Jews in concentration. It is terrible. But like you're saying, like all the gold, all the diamonds, all the different things that's happened to black people, they're just black people. What I'm saying sounds so outrageous, but I know what I mean.
No, I know what you're talking about. But that's what the white man has put on you throughout the years.
Yeah.
Because the white man has seen it that way.
Yes, exactly.
And because black folk wanted so much to be like the white man back then, so they could be accepted.
Yeah, exactly.
You put up with it.
It's not even that you put up with it. It's you actually think in the same vein. Here's an example. You know when they're coming across on Windrush on the boat, it's not... Look at the way that they're dressed. They're not dressed like in the rum shop or, you know, in Jamaica, or they're dressed in English dress of the day. Do you know, like an imitation?
Yeah, because that was so they could be accepted.
Yes, exactly.
And if you didn't behave English or you had an accent, you weren't accepted at all.
Yeah.
You weren't accepted because you were black, right, facing you. But you were more accepted if you would speak more like them, dress more like them, behave more like them.
Or so you thought.
No, it was so.
But if they didn't, if they didn't like you because you was black, full stop, I don't suppose acting like them's going to make any difference. You're just going to still be black.
Yes, but we didn't know it back then, did we?
Yeah, no.
We just knew. Because remember, the black man has been put down to animal for centuries.
Yeah.
Not just for a few years. We were put down like animals from when the first white man stopped off on black land. We put off as animals because we didn't have the same features, same colouring as the white man.
And same culture to a degree. It's not just, I don't know, is it just about features and skin colour?
Well, that's the first thing, because that's the first thing you see, isn't it? And then you realise they don't behave the way the white man realised. They don't behave the way we do. They don't pray to a God like we do. They don't dress like we do. You know, even like simple things. They didn't do the hair, or, you know, wear makeup, or, you know, flounce round in frilly frocks. We had to go out there and work our land because we were land people. We didn't sit in offices or want to make a whole heap of money. All the black man thought of before the white man reached us was you work and feed your family. And what did you work? Whatever little land you have, whatever bits of trees you had, whatever you could. You worked.
Are we talking Africa now?
Yeah.
But no, there'd still be politicians and whatever within their system.
I am not saying there wasn't, but remember, back then, when they first came for the black man, there wasn't that much politics throughout the whole country.
Yeah, they'd still be their own elders. There'd still be
yes,
people
they had
who
their
lived
own
off
elders,
other people's backs.
But most of the people lived off the land back then. They couldn't. What did they do then? If they didn't live off the land back then,
they'll always, at the end of the day, people are still people, right? There will always be a group of people who live off the other people's backs. This is what I think. In any given tribe, right, there will always be someone who says, I'm setting the rules and I'm setting the culture.
Yeah.
And I'm setting...
Yes,
you know
there was
I mean?
always leaders.
Yeah.
But even though they were them, people still had to work.
No,
they still had to bring food home to the families.
Yeah.
So where are they going to do it? There was no office buildings or anything like that.
In any tribe,
there was no factories.
Office.
There was no factories or anything.
Yeah.
Because remember, there was no industry over there whatsoever. There was no industry when they went over there whatsoever. Not like there was over here, because that's what they brought them over here to do. Start up the industries.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing, but really... When they brought the black man over to the white countries were only just starting up, and they didn't have enough white folk to do what they wanted at a price they wanted. Because remember, the black man didn't get paid at all.
That's an amazing thought, though, isn't it? Now think about it. Sit here now, there's me and you, right, and we think, we're going to build... we're going to turn that into an orchard out there, right? And we can't afford to pay anybody to do it. So here's the plan, right? We're going to go to the Friendship Inn now, right, pub, and we're going to round up all them white people and bring them in and make them dig. We're not going to pay them anything. We're hardly going to feed them. We're just going to keep them barely alive. What an amazing... how bad must you be to think shit like that?
Well, that's why I always think... You know, the white man go on how good they are and everything. To think like that, you're not a very nice person. To think like that, you are not a very nice person. Because obviously, if the white man was so intelligent, why couldn't they see that we were human just like them? We just spoke a different language, different colour skin, different culture. Because to tell you the truth, in all honesty, it's only recently, in the last, 50 years, the white man has accepted us as being human and we can achieve what they can. But black man chooses not to. I don't know why. Don't ask me why.
I don't think that's fair.
Why? You get the odd one that'll go out there. Because look at the Asians when they came over here. All right, the majority of the Asians and Arabs that came over here are the ones that had the money, but they came over here and did something. After the black man had worked in the factories and saved up the money and rare, didn't club together and open shops and open little factories and little cotton mills and stuff like that.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just think it's an idiosyncrasy in the black man. We have this thing. I was once told a joke by an old black guy. It wasn't a joke. It was just a little story. He said to me, "You see two white women on a bench in a park. A very beautiful white woman walks by. And she goes, oh, she's lovely. She's very beautiful, long blonde hair, very beautiful. Two Asian women in a park. An Asian woman walks by. Oh, she's princess. She must be a queen. Very beautiful. Two black women sat on a bench in a park. A beautiful black woman walks by. She thinks she look good. And we do have that attitude.
No, it's true. I think it's changing.
It is changing.
I think
but
it's changing.
You still have that thing and you look at most black folk who do open up a business or an industry. What's the first thing they go and do? Buy bling, buy a big car, buy some jewellery.
I don't think that's true. I think people do, but I don't think it's completely true.
You see, we've got to be honest about ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. No, I agree, but...
Because I'm one of them, if you need help, I will help you, no matter what. But in all honesty, most black people have that attitude. She thinks she's nice. And thinks she's ain't good. Because I even hear it from like young sports people. You know, when you've been around them and, he's never going to do it. He can't do it. And it's their own black folk, instead of saying, yeah, go on, go for it.
Yeah.
And we do have this thing about bling. As soon as you make tuppence, you want to show off 5p. And it's true.
What do you think that is?
I suppose because we've never had it. In this culture, we have never had it.
Yeah.
We were never allowed to have it. Because...
But in other cultures, they do like bling though, don't they? You know, like in some of them, I don't know any of the names of any of the tribes, but in some of like the tribes, you see, you know, like things like neck bands and loads of beads and, you know, they just do like decoration. You know, our forefathers.
Oh, no, yeah. No,
yeah.
That's whatever tribe you're from, they have different ways of decorating themselves.
Yeah.
The white man had different ways of decorating themselves. It's just that, from what I can see, there's always going to be that little bit of jealousy in black man. Because remember, when we were in slavery, back in slavery, I know it keeps going on about slavery, but back in slavery, you were chosen.
Yeah.
The lighter you were, the better jobs you got on the ranches or farms or whatever. The better jobs you got. If you were light-skinned, you worked in the house. The blacker you got, the further away from the house you worked.
So we've been taught to be competitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's... I don't know what it's like because I was never born and bred in Africa.
Yeah.
But when I see Africans now, they speak their own language. They'll actually have ceremonies in their own dress and everything. But there is a different culture between born and bred Africans and your average black folk.
Yeah, but they've never been enslaved, have they? They might have been in, like if your dad's Philadelphian, more than likely he has to be. He's a direct descendant of a slave.
Yeah.
My dad's Jamaican. He's a direct descendant of a slave. You know, so somewhere in our blood, because they call it epigenetics, you know, that you get the feeling of something that's happened in the past.
Yeah.
That somewhere in our blood is slavery. In mine and your blood is slavery. Yeah. Whereas in, like, my friend that lived below me in the flat, Sarah, African, she's black, but she doesn't think like me. There's something prouder in her. She talks her own language.
But that's what my granddad tried to teach us, but we didn't have it because we'd never known anywhere different.
Yeah.
And I think that what I was trying to explain then was where the jealousy comes from black folk, that were born other places. Because I went to a christening once. I'm not mentioning no names or anything, but it was a Jamaican and an African that got married, had a child. They were having a christening. There was a West Indian food place here, an African food place around the corner. And it was like the crowd split into two.
Never.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a real great tradition about African and Jamaicans not liking each other, though, from way back. Both thinking the other one was lower than them.
Well, the Africans think American blacks or West Indian blacks are below them anyway, because they were the ones that were took into slavery. And the Africans were brought up on their own land. Yeah. So the Africans have this pride about them, that they still have a language, they still have their heritage. Yeah, West Indians and people who were born and bred in Europe, say on the West.
Yeah.
We don't have a heritage. We try to gain a heritage.
What do you mean by that, Lanka?
Like with all the black pride stuff.
Yeah.
We try to gain a heritage that we can't gain.
But when me and you were born, there's still two separate. There's still sinks for whites, sinks for blacks in America.
Oh yeah.
We're born before. Yeah. In our lifetime, civil rights has happened and is happening.
Yeah.
That's astonishing.
Do you know something? My honest belief is there's always going to be some kind of culturism or racism because of people are born and bred in different places. They have totally different cultures. It's I used to listen to my Uncle Ron and my Auntie Ada because they opened up the George Jackson House on Withington Road.
Okay.
You know, for black kids when.
So you know Sue Taylor then?
Sue Taylor.
Go on, keep going anyway.
Anyway, because I used to listen to them talking a lot because they were very militant. And it was like we were behaving lower than ourselves because we've allowed in history what went on with us. And even now in the present day, which was the early 70s, we were still allowing the white man to portray the way we should be. And in a way, it still is now. You get the younger kids and they'll follow what they think is cool about the black man.
Yeah.
It's not what is about the black man. Because if you notice, the younger kids are not following they don't follow the black educators, or they don't follow the black artists or anything like that.
Yeah.
They want to follow the street shit and all that business. I've lost myself now.
Going back on the culture thing, what you said before, there will always be different cultures. Because we're born, there's even a different culture between Moss Side and Fallowfield, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? Like, there will always for different cultures. But I think that everybody else gets given the benefit of the doubt. Like if the Chinese are a very different culture, aren't they? Very, very different.
Yeah, but you look at the Chinese, they don't burst themselves out on the white man.
What do you mean?
They stay in their own little culture, their own little environment. You look at the Asian, he doesn't burst himself out on the white man and want to dress in top hats and tails.
Oh, yeah. Not thought about that.
The Arab man didn't come over here with top hats and tails. It was only the black man that came out here and wanted to wear top hat and tails and forget about his own culture because we were under the belief of it's wrong, it's animalistic.
Wow. I've never considered that.
Because that's why when white women back in the day used to go out with black men, they were cursed for it. And I can understand because I've been out with white guys, but I've been out with white guys because I've gotten to be the friend and I've gotten to know that person. I've never spotted a white man. The odd one. And I thought, oh, yeah, go on, give me peace. You know what I mean? Because they're not really that shapely, the white man. But you get a gang of white guys walking down the road, and there's not really that much to fancy shape-wise.
Oh, I know. I fancied some white guys in my time.
On the odd occasion. But for me, he's got to look like a fucking model. Sorry for the swearing word. But he's got to look like a model. He's got to have a nice shape, a nice little ass. Nice muscles, But the majority of black guys are just born like that.
No, there's some right fucking fat fucking...
Yes.
Or weedy or...
Yes. But...
boogie eyes or whatever.
All right. So there is.
Yeah.
But the majority of them, when they're young, they're fit. They've got nice... trousers... trousers hang better on a black guy than a white guy.
Can't agree. I'm not saying trousers hang better on anybody. I'm just saying I can't agree. That's just... Nah. I've never seen my life like that.
This is another thing the white man has put on us. We're ugly.
No, I don't.
No, the white man has put on us. We are ugly.
There's plenty of ugly white people. There's plenty of ugly black people.
No, I'm talking about we are ugly because we have broad noses, big lips, cock off ass. The white man doesn't like things like that. So to them, that's not right. Their features are white. Why do you think they portrayed God with blonde hair and blue frigging eyes? Because they didn't believe the Jewish man was beautiful enough to turn as a god, to portray as a god.
Yeah, no, I'll have that.
Because you cannot tell me God was a white man with blonde hair. Not if he was born way over there in them countries. It's not.
No, there's plenty of good-looking and ugly people in any race.
In any race, but I'm saying
You personally prefer black men?
I think when you're in Alexander Park on a hot day when I was young, all I saw was little skinny white kids.
Yeah, but that's just your own personal preference.
And then you saw a group of black lads and they'd all have figures. They'd all have shape. And then when I got to be a teenager and I started going out, started seeing men dressed in suits and everything, on the white guy, the suit doesn't really look much. It looks okay from the front, but when you look on it side on or back from the back, there's no ass. There's no shape.
But that's just your personal preference.
I live right in the middle of Studi area, right?
Yeah.
You get these little white Studis and they're trying to, this shape, this style where the jeans are on their ass and everything. And I think, something? It's a good job you got a belt on, love. And you get the young black Studi and they come on and they just hang off their ass. There's just something there for them. And I was always jealous of those black girls when they did come over from Africa and the West Indies, how they always had a nice cock-off arse and the skirt always looked good on them. And even now, the white man's beginning to appreciate an arse. Because remember, the white man never appreciated an arse at first. It was all about tits. And it was all about, to curse a woman is to call them fat arse.
But as I'm thinking now, though, to come back out of it all, as I'm thinking now, they've been trained just as much as we've been trained.
How do you mean they've been trained?
Well, just...
The white man are the ones that set the rules, remember?
Yeah, but not every white man. It's not every white man.
No, I'm not saying not every white man, but the big rule setters were the white man.
No, I'm just saying what they're supposed to like or not like. Everybody gets sort of told what they're supposed to like or what not like.
Yeah.
Don't they? What's in fashion. There could have been, in 1970s or 1950s, when Jamaicans came over here, there could have been loads of white guys, for all we know, that loved Mrs. Palmer up the street because he loved her cock arse. But he wouldn't have dared be in the pub and say, oh my God, I can't wait to give Mrs. Palmer one. Look at her cock arse.
Yeah.
Because his mates would have said he was disgusting.
Yeah.
You don't want to shag one of them, do you? Fucking monkey.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they've been trained as much as we've been trained, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, because
we're all waking up.
I used to get cussed for going out with white guys.
Yeah.
Because, how can you go out with one of them? They got no shape. They got no colour. Ew,
and in some senses, you're repeating that to me.
Yeah.
Whereas I can't get cussed for either of them because my mum's white and my dad's black. So who's going to cuss me? Do you know what I mean? I'm entitled to shag as many white people as many black people as I want to.
Yeah, but remember, that's because we were brought up in England.
Yeah.
Remember, in America, mixed race aren't called mixed race or half caste or whatever. They're just called black.
Yeah.
And that's how I brought my granddaughters up. Look, darling, just because you're lighter than a lot of black folk doesn't mean to say you're not black. You are black. Because when the white man decides to cuss you, he's going to call you nigger just same way me.
Yeah.
So, and to tell you the truth, I've when I was younger, you see these white women, they were with black men, but as soon as they're having you fucking black bastard. And I've heard it was saying with white guys. I've had a white guy call me fucking cunting black bitch.
Your boyfriend in a row?
Yeah.
But that's in a row.
No.
Go on.
Because I don't care whether it's in a row or not. That is racism. You're going to bed with a woman and you're gonna real diss her like that. Because to me that is a max diss. Call me skinny, call me whatever you want. But to call me colour, you're looking at that.
I was married to Tom for 23 years, I think, right? And never in a row did he say stupid black bitch.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, he probably wasn't racist then. He probably wasn't racist. He probably genuinely loved you for you. Didn't care. He genuinely, and there are some, I've got a white friend now. No matter what, she ain't calling anybody by no colour. And she was brought up in one of those little middle class areas way out of the country. And I've never once heard her say anything like that. But that's what, you see, things like that are the things that we don't normally notice. You probably just did not notice back then things like that were going on. But they were every day.
To be really, really honest, it's only in the last 6 years or something that I've really begun to study this. Because it's never really affected me as I thought. It's never really been thrown in my face. But as I start, the whole thing about race.
Yeah, because remember, England wasn't like America, where it was the forefront was racism in America.
Yeah.
Black people, in England, when you first came over to England, back then, they could get on a bus and just sit anywhere.
True.
It wasn't like America.
Yeah.
England was a lot easier than America. Even to this day, it's a lot easier than America. But racism, we're never going to get rid of. Whilst the white man feels above the black man.
You can't really change that though, can you? What everybody says, or you can change what you think. You can't change what someone else thinks.
No.
So you can change how you feel about yourself, and we can all change what we feel about ourselves. But we can't really change what they think about us. The more conversations like this that we have, not me and you, where we be like honest, we can change and understand what we think.
But when you think about it, in a way, as even the black man deep down in himself has been taught to think that way.
No, exactly.
Because every other race that's come over to this country, even the Jews in Nazi time, they were allowed to keep their own way of their own beliefs.
Yeah.
But because we didn't pray to one God in the sky, because we had lots of gods, we weren't allowed to do that anymore. We had to, once we stepped on white land, we had to just give away. And I'm not talking about West Indians, because remember, the West Indians are just old slaves.
Yeah.
But I'm saying once they hit on white land, you weren't allowed to be a fully cultured black man anymore. You couldn't walk the streets like they do now in full African garb or
no, that's
whatever.
a 70s thing, isn't it? I remember, the odd, especially half-caste guys, what the odd half-caste guy wearing them as a political statement.
Yeah, but the only time back in the day I ever saw Africans wearing their own clothes is when it was a celebration of something, like somebody's wedding or christening, something
or
like
death,
that. Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah. That's the only time. The rest of the time, it's all been as the white man dressed now.
I have to go, Lanka. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, I tell you why I'm so sorry, because it's really interesting. We have to do another one.
Mm.
Yeah, we have to do another one and think about it deeper.